Have you ever found yourself wanting to watch a show that has science fiction, magic, space travel, intense action scenes, spaceships with grappler arms, maybe some naked buff cat women, and a Wild West feel that's like living on the edge and searching for a mystical treasure called the Galactic Ley Line? Well, then why the hell are you not watching Outlaw Star? Counted among the big three of the 90s space western shows, Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, and Outlaw Star, all completely different shows, yet dealing with the creative mashup of science fiction and gunslinging western, along with each being a single season with 26 episodes. These three shows are often put side by side, but to say the least, Outlaw Star is probably the most underrated out of the three of them. In America, Outlaw Star originally aired as part of the Cartoon Network's Toonami block back in the early 2000s. Of course, heavily edited for kids' TV, but it still became one of the most popular and talked about anime at the time for Toonami fans, and specifically was a series that Toonami itself drew a lot of inspiration from when it came to their promos and bumpers that they would air in between shows. To this day, the Broken Promises Dreams promo really sticks out in the minds of anybody that was alive during the time watching these shows.
Believe in yourself and create your own destiny. Don't fear failure.
But over the years, Outlaw Star kind of fizzled out, and yet it still maintained a special place in the hearts of all that were able to witness it at the time. But it is a show that I go back to and revisit every couple of years, and I think that it's worth mentioning within the pantheon of these space western shows. At its core, it's an adventure story, but it also has more complex characters than you would expect for a show that gets as wacky as this one can at times. Gene Starwind is the protagonist, and he begins the story as sort of a bounty hunter-esque kind of guy, takes on any job he can find just to make money, kind of a scoundrel, alongside his more tech-savvy younger partner, Jim Hawking. But specifically, he has not been able to travel into space since an incident in his childhood that resulted in his father's death. As badass and take action now, ask questions later kind of character that he is, he also deals with crippling panic attacks and PTSD when it comes to space travel. And in a series where there's lots of space travel, well, that's going to be a problem. The plot gets moving when they take a job protecting a woman named Hilda, who is up to more than meets the eye and is tangled up with affairs with space pirates that know ancient magical spells, and introduces them to an android woman locked in a box named Melfina, who was created to be able to connect to and interface with a legendary starship, the XGP, later renamed to the Outlaw Star. And with its title, yes, these characters are outlaws, but more than that, they are outcasts. They don't fit in within the structured society at play, and they also are not merciless pirates. Gene is kind of a guy that doesn't really know what his ultimate purpose is, and he lives life from job to job, just making ends meet, and of course, flirting with nearly every girl that he comes in contact with. But once tangled up with the events that are way larger than he has any concept of, he is forced to face his fears and head into space for the very first time since his childhood. Overcoming that, which he's ignored, and facing all further life complications head on instead of actively avoiding them or drowning himself in distractions. The first 4 episodes set the stage, and I won't spoil them for you, but you may be shocked as to what happens to some of the characters just within this opening act. Rounding out the cast are Aisha, a member of the Kataro race, that despite being a great fighter on her own and probably their strongest member, she is also constantly screwing up and failing at her objectives, and her childlike sporadic personality often can hold her back, but it also is extremely endearing. She has this great sense of honor and righteousness about herself, even when she has to resort to underhanded tactics, and she really juxtaposes the other character that's added, which is a female assassin named Suzuka, who has this kind of samurai aesthetic. She battles with a wooden sword, and she kind of acts as the stoic resident badass of the group, but without a doubt a loner with nowhere else to go, who ends up amongst the crew. Though perhaps the deepest character may in a strange way be Melfina. You of course have the average themes when it comes to dealing with AI or android characters of just how human they can be, but with Melfina specifically, her plight is this uncertainty of why she was created and if she has any purpose whatsoever outside of just being a tool for somebody else. So deeply tied to the Outlaw Star ship and its relation to the Galactic Ley Line, Malfina wonders if she can actually be a person with hopes, goals, and dreams, or if she is just subject to whatever she was programmed for. Now, although there is an overarching storyline through the show, there are many standalone episodes as well that, like any other space western anime of the big three, can vary between being action-centric, comedy-centric, or deeply character-based. There's an episode where they're involved with a space race. There's one where basically the whole episode they have to defuse a bomb. There's the token Hot Springs episode where everybody is naked. And my personal favorite, an episode where Gene is challenged to a duel, and though he tries to brush it off that it's not a big deal, he spends the majority of the episode subtly panicked and drinking, trying to deal with the idea that he could very well die during the next upcoming battle. And it's a really powerful, great episode for his character, showing us even somebody living life on the edge as he does, going from job to job and having been in numerous gunfights before, there's still this underlying fear that this is real and he might not always make it while living in this dangerous and reckless kind of way. The other standout thing about this show is its style and aesthetic of its locations and even just of space itself. One thing I notice about this show that doesn't come up in many other space-centric media is they always color the space backgrounds with lots of purples and blues and kind of give it this majestic glow rather than just having space be pure black. There's lots of times where the characters are in locations where the lighting and coloring changes, or when they're at the galactic ley line itself, coating everything in this kind of golden hue. It really helps solidify each setting being a unique place to be and adds to the differences between the different worlds that they encounter. I will say when it comes to the animation though, there are definite times where the animation is a bit stunted, but also times where it flows incredibly. I think what they did was use the budget to the best of their advantage and showcase the better animation on intense and important scenes, and having lesser quality animation on some of the more mediocre moments. But when I say mediocre, I mean not much movement is going on, not much animation. Because another great thing that the show does is it has a lot of scenes where the characters are just hanging out trying to fix a problem with the ship's maintenance, or seeing them need to find a way to make money, or arguing with each other. And what all this does is shows you the little moments that is the backbone as to why these characters, despite all being misfits in their own way, really come to depend and rely on one another and work as a legitimate team and crew. It's not all about action battles, bounty hunters, and pirates. It's also about finding your identity in unexpected places, which is the cornerstone of any good adventure story. If you give me good enough characters, I can watch them do anything and probably enjoy it. And Outlaw Star is filled with giving you one of the most enjoyable ensemble casts that I've seen in any anime. There's also a variety of antagonists, not the least of which are the McDougal brothers, tangled up in Gene's past, but also having an enjoyable dynamic between the two of them, and their bond as brothers is really fun to watch. They aren't just generic evil bad guys, but they have their own goals, wants, and desires, and ways that they go about doing it. And with Harry McDougal, he is obsessively involved with Malfina that comes across both terrifying and oddly heartbreaking at times as well. It's complex, to say the least. Every time the McDougal brothers show up, you're definitely in for an interesting and exciting episode. When it comes to the pirate characters, there are a lot of them, and I think my only real downside with this show is that some of the pirate characters have such cool and interesting looking designs, but within 26 episodes for the whole show, there just is not enough time to get into all of them, and so some come off feeling kind of pointless or disappointing, only to show up for a single episode or even a single scene and then get dispatched too easily. But their leader, Hazanko, is handled really well, being kept as mostly this looming background figure for most of the show, really only getting screen time in the final 3 episodes, but he is definitely a force to be reckoned with, way more powerful than anything you'd seen in the show thus far, and just as ruthless as you would want a final antagonist to be. And obviously I cannot play it because of YouTube copyright stuff, but if you have never heard or watched the opening song to Outlaw Star, I implore you to go search it up and do it right now. If that opening song does not hype you up and get you in the mood to watch some crazy sci-fi shit, then nothing will. It might be my favorite anime opening song ever, at least a high contender. And then the outro song of the show switches gears entirely and is this beautifully somber, soft-spoken song that makes you want to sit outside, look at the stars, and reflect on your entire life, of which I've done many times. And I love that eventually they have Melfina in the show sing the end credit song, and suddenly its tone and its lyrics, it makes so much more sense within the idea of questioning yourself, what your purpose is, and your place within this vast array of stars and planets. I think Outlaw Star has something for everyone, and within its wild, outlandish world of aliens, androids, and starships with giant battling grappler arms, there really is this kind of comforting tale that makes you feel that no matter what kind of an outcast that you are, there's a place for you out there somewhere. You just have to go on your own adventure in order to find it. So don't be afraid of its danger, but also don't judge yourself if it takes time to overcome those fears. If you screw up, if you're a loner, if you're young and still have a lot to learn, or if you just wonder why you exist at all. The answers are out there, and you have to find them for yourself. So go find them, and remember to appreciate the little moments while you're searching for them. Or you could just become a pirate and fuck some shit up. Possibilities are endless. Anyways, guys, if you are a fan of Outlaw Star, let me know in the comments below. Did you watch it when you were younger? Have you seen it before? Have you never seen it? Let me know your thoughts. And as always, guys, I appreciate you for watching this video. Please give it a like and a comment to help it out in the algorithm. And if you want to support the channel on a deeper level, I do have Patreon, channel memberships, merch store, all that stuff in the description below, as well as the various social media links where you can follow me. So other than that, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll talk to you next time.
Eat this!